Modded Terraria, my favourite thing to play in my spare time, which is why I decided to make it my first YouTube video. I'm playing with a few of my favourite mods, the Dragon Ball Terraria mods and Calamity. I do have a few quality of life mods, and everything I've used will be in the description down below. I do also have a few goals set out for this entire series, but the main goal for this episode was to get Super Saiyan 1. Aside from me being so bad at the game, the goal of getting Super Saiyan 1 seemed to be easy enough. Little did I know that this challenge would be a lot harder than I originally thought. Having to kill Skeletron, which means killing the Eater of Worlds and Eye of Cthulhu to progress enough to be able to kill Skeletron. It took quite a while. That, coupled with the fact that I hadn't played the game in quite a long time, I realised that I had gotten myself into something I was not ready for. Anyways, I think you've heard enough of my rambling at this point, so I'm gonna let you guys get onto the actual video. Just be warned, I might make a lot of mistakes throughout this entire video. If you could, please give me some constructive criticism instead of shouting at me in the comments. Here we go. And I'm just gonna spawn in. Close this instantly. Starting up the world, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I thought this was gonna be a smooth ride, something easy. It was anything but. I started by going through my controls, making sure I had a different key set to each keybind. I decided I might as well look at my mastery tree while I was at it, fine by me, just to see if anything was different with the Calamity add-on. Turns out it adds quite a few things. I quickly made a house, nothing too big, just enough room for a storage room and a few NPCs which might come in useful later on. I decided to dig straight down, as most people would, to start a elevator. After a few minutes of digging, I got a bit bored and decided to do something else. I started exploring around my base, starting off by going towards the left. I don't know what was over here. I found a nice cave, had quite a few pots and a few chests. Nothing really interesting in this cave though. Eventually I found a house in the cave. I decided to check the chest inside since I know there's usually some useful loot. And I managed to find some Hermes boots, which came in quite useful as I was moving around quite a lot during this entire recording. After a while of exploring, I thought I came across a dead end until I found this house. I started off by mining the tungsten because I thought it might come in useful later. I never used it. But searching the chest in this house, I found something that was way more useful than the tungsten would ever be. Found a lucky band of regeneration that would also come in useful later, as I took a lot of damage, especially during boss fights and by drowning, but I don't think I actually kept any of those clips in. I eventually made my way back to my elevator. Although my elevator wasn't a very good one, I was using it to find some little pockets. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what I was looking for. I think I was just bored. But I managed to find this chest. And inside the chest was a cloud in a bottle. This also came in later, especially when fighting the Eye of Cthulhu. I eventually gave up on my elevator again and decided to explore even further towards the left. Finding a chest that had 8 tin bars in it, it was somewhat useful. However, I only used it for the recall potions. They were the most useful thing that I've gotten from every chest. Eventually finding another chest with some grenades. Exploring further inside that cave, I found this weird area and this trinket of chi. I don't know what any of this does. I've never seen it before in the game, but the trinket of chi was actually very useful. As well as the banning regeneration, it gave me passive healing, as well as a 10% reduction in damage taken from enemies. All of these trinkets I found would all be extremely useful in the fights against any bosses I had in the future. Eventually leaving the area, and just a few hundred blocks away from where I found the trinket, I found not one, but 2 life crystals, right next to each other. I used a recall potion to get back home, and sold anything that I didn't find useful to the merchant, just to make some extra money to spend on stuff that was useful. Eventually using the chests that I found to expand my storage. That's about everything I did when I got back. Unluckily for me, it was already 8 PM and I had had nothing to eat all day. I decided to call it quits for now and go get something to eat. Already? Oh, what the fuck, it's 8? It might not look like much, but somehow I had already been recording for about an hour. I wasn't so much exhausted, but it was 8 PM at this point. I don't know why I started recording so late in the first place, but I decided to get some food. And obviously, there's no better food than pizza. I obviously went straight back to recording, because I've got nothing better to do. As soon as I started recording again, everything seemed to be moving a lot smoother in the game. I seemed to be progressing a lot faster, but that's only because I did most of the hard work before I had my food. Luckily, everything else was quite easy. Aside from the minor problems, there weren't many things that went wrong, and everything seemed to be going quite smoothly throughout this entire recording. However, the rest of the recording took me approximately 5 hours. For some reason, I decided to record the entire thing in one day, so by the time I was done recording, it was about 5 AM. Need a loom. How do you make a loom? I decided to start trying to make some of the modded items, specifically the armor, which required silk, and I could not for the life of me figure out how to make a loom. I eventually used the recipe browser in my cheat menu to figure out how to craft it and where to craft it. I figured out I needed a sawmill, and that was pretty simple to make. Instead of putting the sawmill and the loom inside my house, since I didn't want to extend it much, I decided to make a shed and put them outside. It looked pretty nice, so that's how I kept it. After a while of wandering, I decided to up the spawn rates using my cheat menu, because I needed more stable key crystals to make some modded armor and the weapons, and I didn't want to be sat here at my computer grinding for a few more hours than I needed to. Unfortunately, I upped the spawn rate a bit too much and died very quickly. I went back to the desert to collect any items that I didn't pick up and had enough for 2 of the modded items. I decided not to go for the key beam because I thought it would be quite useless compared to the blast and the wave. I was a bit impatient to test the wave on some enemies, so I decided to just see what it looked like. It was a bit disappointing. After another expedition in the caves, I managed to find a spider den, which gave me enough silk to make a new pair of armor. The Saiyan Scout armor didn't give much in defense, but it increased my key abilities by quite a lot. I eventually went to the corruption to see if I could get any useful weapons from the orbs. Unfortunately, I got a musket. This was when I decided to fight the Eye of Cthulhu. The fight was going quite well, had a lot of health, I was doing a lot of damage, but just before finishing its transformation, it decided it didn't want to fight me anymore. I didn't want to have to wait another in-game day just to fight the Eye of Cthulhu, so I decided to craft a bed so I could fight him sooner. I decided to convert this hut that spawned in the world naturally into my bedroom. It looked nice. After sleeping, I decided to fight the Eye of Cthulhu once more. I managed to kill him, which was great, but I didn't get what I was looking for. I fought him once more, and still didn't get them. I tried to fight him a third time in the same night. Unfortunately, like the first time I tried to fight him, he decided he didn't want to fight me anymore. I again went back to sleep to try again the next day. Killing the Eye of Cthulhu started to get a bit repetitive and boring. Not getting the items I wanted, even though they had a 25% chance of dropping, was starting to get a bit old. At one point I killed him under the ground and couldn't get the items without digging, but I didn't want to destroy the terrain, so I decided to use my cheat menu to put the items in my inventory. I would still have to fight the Eye of Cthulhu quite a few more times to get the items I wanted. I was starting to think that these items weren't actually dropping 25% of the time. However, after killing him a 9th time, I decided to try once more, and I got my items. Finally, I had done it. Kaioken times 1. My first form that I unlocked. I decided to expand my base by a couple more floors and give it a few more rooms. This was because I needed the clothier for killing Skeletron if I didn't get the items I wanted the first time. Around that same time, I decided to try my luck against the Eater of Worlds. I managed to win, but I never got the items I wanted. So, like the Eye of Cthulhu, I would need to fight it again. However, because I killed the Eater of Worlds, I'd unlocked calm key crystals which dropped from enemies in the jungle. So, like I did the first time, I upped the spawn rate and tried to kill as many as I could. Once I got back home, I saw a wandering merchant and he had a nice pink dress. So I thought, why not? I'm gonna wear it. After my excursion to the jungle, I managed to get quite a few calm key crystals, which allowed me to upgrade to the turtle hermit armor and to the next tier of weapons. I decided against getting trick burst because, compared to the rest, it seemed to be a waste of calm key crystals. As with last time, I couldn't wait to test the beam technique, so obviously I tested it without there being any enemies, and this time it was actually quite impressive. I readied myself for the Skeletron fight and just went ahead with the curse. Unfortunately, it seemed like over-prepared, because the Skeletron fight was very easy. However, not like that mattered now, because I was trying to die to unlock Super Saiyan 1. After taking a few hits, I eventually unlocked it, and just killed the Ice Cthulhu once more, because why not? Unfortunately, there was no flashy animation, but unlocking Super Saiyan 1 revealed to me that I was legendary, and I was not following the same skill tree that many others would. However, because of this, I wouldn't be able to get Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue, or Super Saiyan Rosé. Yet again, I decided to expand my base, because I never got the Clothier, and I want to kill Skeletron again. I bought a Clothier voodoo doll from the Dryad and fought Skeletron again. Yet again, the fight was disappointing, although this time I almost ran out of ki because I decided to use Super Saiyan 1 while fighting him. I did however get Kaioken times 10, unfortunately I am not able to use that yet because I don't have times 3 or times 4. I eventually went back home and just scrolled through all of my forms, reaching Super Saiyan 1 mastery at 100%. I had Super Saiyan 1, Ascended Super Saiyan, Ultra Super Saiyan, and obviously Super Kaioken. This was, however, the last thing I did during this recording, as I was extremely tired. So, that's it. The end of the first episode. If you enjoyed it and want to watch more, unfortunately I don't have many videos on my channel at the moment, so you're probably going to have to wait until the next one comes out, which should be in a week's time, maybe. If you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting the subscribe button, as I would really appreciate it. And to anyone who made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.